Hello, everyone, and welcome to In the Know 360, show hosted by me, Annette, the warm-hearted warrior diva. This show gives you insights on the journeys of high-achieving business owners and music artists who share with the audience the importance of building a strong community of like-minded individuals on the road to greater success. And tonight, guess what? We have King Jacob. He's back, y'all. Woo!
Yes. I'm glad to be back. And my name is King Jacob. I come from Denver, Colorado, by way of the ACO. I'm grateful to be here. I do music. That's my niche. And then I also do a few other things too. But music is the main one that everybody here knows me from. But I never like to just wear one hat. So that's me.
Okay. Well, I know you wear multiple hats. He's modest, everybody. Another round of applause. Thank you for joining me this evening, sir.
My pleasure, of course.
And we have it's funny how we started because if you want to give the background about how you were posting on your story feed, relationships and such. And so we got together and decided to create something like a forum for people to discuss. So if you could just give like a brief overview as to what sparked the story feed.
Sure. Basically, what struck me was, you know, I'm coming out of this is it's a short version of all of this, but I'm coming out of a divorce probably roughly almost like 4 years ago. Um, and then when I come from that area, I start going into the okay, I'm terrified. I haven't been like this in years, because I was married for 15 years. And then I'm going into the lane of being like, all right, I'm still domesticated as a man where I still want to do stuff like, all the regular things I do around the house, cook, clean, to all that being stripped away. And when that happened, and all that was stripped away, then I'm left with like what my identity is.
Hmm.
So it's just going through a rough layer of peeling back certain things and then jumping back into the dating pool. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what has got me on this journey. Because over the last 4 years, dated a few women, then got serious with one, and then back around to where I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do about things right now. You know what I'm saying? Since we had our breakup. And then it's kind of like put me in another lane where I'm trying to figure some things out and try to see how I'm going to work parts of um, a relationship back into my life. So I've noticed a lot, I've learned a lot, I've watched a few people, and then, I'm always putting in my 2 cents, like what I feel like I can be as a man to be better as a partner. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I would like if you don't mind shedding some light. I, as far as like once that was settled, because there's always like the post divorce or post separation. Excuse
Mhm.
me, excuse me, pre separation, pre divorce, and then duration, and then post. Um, I guess first things first, the first week, I don't know if you can recollect, right? What
Mhm.
was what were you doing and what was going through your mind when you realized that hey, this is it?
Um, I think like when it finally hit me, I think that's what you're
Yeah.
trying to ask me is like when it finally hit me because I'll be honest, like I think during the separation period, it's kind of like, oh, okay, we always separate, we come back, and then there's that portion where it's like, okay, that we're getting a divorce and this, that, and other, and like I don't know if this is really going to happen, but I'm gonna ride out this wave and see what's going on. To being like, oh shoot, somebody is actually submitting a petition, and I'm
Mm.
not the type of person who's like, if somebody wants to walk out the door, I'm the type of guy that's like, I'm gonna open the door for them and be like, there it is. You know what I mean? Like I'm just not that type of person that's gonna go chase anybody. I never have
Right.
been that way. And in a sense, I guess with this particular person that I was married to. Um, it was like a going back and forth as far as like, okay, there's always that almost like a makeup, breakup, because it was just a
Mm.
cycle. You go
Yeah.
because everything has cycles, little life cycles and things like that. It just got to a point where it was just like that died, and you have to do something different because you have kids involved,
Right.
and then I mean people just get tired of each other, like you grow out of love, you know. So
Mm.
all of that portion happened, and then I guess that was just the first, right after that it was like kind of denial period. It was just
Yeah.
like, but I don't know what about it. After being married for so long, it's like freedom, right? So you're running out the door. You're just like, oh, okay, what am I going to get into? You know what I'm saying? So I got my hands like this. Like, where do I put my hands? You know what I mean? So, and I'm being honest. Like, I'm a man. I'm free. You know what I mean? I've been warding off all these women, and now I'm free. Like my eyes were huge at that time. So, and that's the funny part of it all, right? Because you're just like, all right, I'm looking at life from a totally different lens. That's actually an illusion.
Mm.
At that point, you know what I mean? Because you're
True.
like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Look at all this room, and you don't think about it, but like, you're like the thought of somebody having trauma doesn't even hit your mind.
Mm.
You're just like, oh, what? You know what I mean? This girl is drinking. Okay, wait a minute. That's probably not a good sign that she's smashing the handle down. But I'm just like, I'm just sorry, my bad. Yeah, that's just the truth, though. It's the truth of the matter. Like, yeah, like, yeah, you drank all that. Okay, shit, what's good? So you start to go through this motion of seeing how people are, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And you're like, on this high, going up, and then there's that crash that you weren't expecting afterward because you're going
Mm.
through someone else's emotions because you're just
Yeah.
projecting the fact that you're free. I
Right.
got freedom. And then after you go through all that period, like then there comes that time where it's like, all right, you're having fun,
Mm.
but when you're not in that fun and in that
Mhm.
circumstance where you're like going around and you're just doing all these, whatever activities, and then you start to sit still,
Yeah.
and that's when your life hits you, right? That's when it
Wow.
starts to hit you, and you're like, you know what? This like the life that I know of is being a father, going to the
Mhm.
rec center,
Yeah.
going and riding bikes and doing all the things like coaching my son
Mhm.
in basketball or my daughter in basketball or whatever it is. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Going to support my oldest daughter as she goes, and she's the most amazing actress that I've ever witnessed on stage. Like, you
Mhm.
want to, and then you start thinking about all those things, and it hits you, and then it's like, damn, I'm not there anymore. And
Mm.
the emotions really start to become real. um and so I think that is like, for me, that's when it kind of hit me, and I want to say that was probably right literally after we went to court, which was virtual because this is all
Wow.
happening during COVID too. So you know what I mean, this is
Ooh.
COVID time, so it's all
Yeah.
like the
Jeez.
world's changing, your life is changing, the who you are as a person is changing. um Health wise, I was changing, I was shedding, and I was letting go of a lot of stuff that I was trying to hold on to. I was trying to hold on to people that I didn't need to hold on to anymore. So I
Mhm.
was like, okay, I realized that I got to let them go.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to figure out other lanes of, okay, you feel like you're free falling, and you're like, got to grab onto something, right? And
Mhm.
it's like, what is there to grab onto? I could grab onto all the negative things, which I
Yeah.
did in the beginning, of course. But then at this point, it's all like, okay, I don't know what else to grab onto, but I know for a fact I want to
Mhm.
be a better man. So I
Mm.
grabbed onto spirituality,
Mhm.
and some people would be like, well, did you have a faith, religion that, and I grew up Christian, and which was my foundation. I have nothing against growing up as a Christian, but once I realized that spirituality was something that was more, I mean, if you can't tell by the tiger's eye, my
Yeah.
necklace, and but once I realized that spirituality was, excuse me, was the better way to go, that's
Yeah.
when, you start to figure out, all right, what am I going to do to improve myself? How am I going to get back grounded
Right.
again? You know? So
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so true. It, and it happened during COVID, which was just a lot of pieces, moving parts going on as you're trying to
Mhm.
navigate to a normal life, right? Whatever this
Yes.
normal life looks
Yeah.
like
What does this look like? Yeah.
during COVID. Wow, what a story. And I'm sure that there's more once we start diving into what we came up with. So let's hit
Yes.
it.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So we're going to talk about first the psychology of relationship change, right? Which you kind of gave us a brief overview. And thank you for sharing your personal story with us. Why do people seem to put more effort into a new relationship compared to an old one? And how does the novelty of a new partner play a role in this behavior?
Um, I think it goes back to the old science of it all. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? The infatuation stage. Everybody becomes infatuated with what's new, and they're like,
Right.
"This is different," and I'm super excited. And I don't know, I got, you might not even have the butterflies, but it's just the fact that it's new. You know what I
Mm,
mean? That can get to you. Don't let them have like, you got a little bread, or they got some money, or they got this, or they got that. It's just going to intensify that. You know what I mean? And it's like a real big dopamine hit in the beginning.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think the first time I ever smoked weed and got high, right? I was like, oh my God, I was cracking up. I was like, this is amazing. Oh my God, and any other time I smoked weed after that, I'm not like, man, I'm cracking the hell up. I'm like, I'm going to sleep. I'm about to eat something, chilling, watching a movie. This is different. So I think that's the reason why in the beginning why it seems like it hits you so hard. It's because
Mm,
of that. It's that it is that dopamine hit. It is that addiction, that rush that you have of newness. You know what I mean?
mm,
Where in that previous relationship, after when it dies out of that, you just kind of want to just escape and really just go.
mm.
So so that's just that presence of newness. I think that really affects us as far as that goes.
Yeah. I've heard stories where when people start dating or going into the dating scene, uh, some people have their opinions. Oh, I just want to date one person at a time, or oh, I can date three or four at the same time. How do you, if you don't mind me asking, navigate or like in the beginning of your single life? How did you navigate that? Were you more of like a one person at a time dater, or were you like, oh, okay, I can kind of figure out, okay, these are probably three people that I'm interested in, or I'll let you hand the floor.
I see, I
Hand over
yeah,
the.
yeah. I see where you're coming from. So, I never was ever. I don't want to deal with myself sometimes. so, so to go out and be like, man, I got about 4, 5 bad ones. You know what I mean? I'm all like, that's a job, brother. You getting paid for 4 or 5 bad ones? Because if you're not, you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? You're spreading yourself thin. So I could never understand like somebody actually going and doing that. But at the same time, to each his own, because there are people that can multitask relationships like that. And hopefully they're
Right.
being honest and open about it. Like
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, I'm not looking for a relationship. I am dating." Which I had a female tell me that. She was all
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh no, I'm just dating right now." And I was all like, "Oh, I understood exactly what she was saying." I was like, "I think that was completely honest." You know what I mean? I've even wanted to probably explore a little bit more, but spirituality calls, so I had to do. And I was also making music, so I was really
Yeah.
busy. But other than that, I think it's the mature thing to do is
Mhm.
just to tell someone like, "Hey." But now for me,
Yeah.
like one person, the way I look at it, if I'm dating somebody, I got to deal
Mhm.
with 2 people,
Mm.
even if it's one person. And the reason why I say that, so I got to deal with myself and how I'm going to present myself to that person, along
Mhm.
with how that person presents themselves to me. You know what I mean? That's just the way that I look at it. And I think if everybody else took some time to be like, okay, are you bringing something to this table? Especially if you're looking for somebody that you potentially could be with for a long
Yeah.
time. Is that how I want to present myself? Or not, excuse
Right.
me, that, but how am I going to present
Mhm.
myself to this person? And everybody puts on the mask, right?
Mhm.
I don't care what anybody says. Now, there are a few people that don't, and it's just real authentic, you know what I mean? And those people are, they meet each other in very organic ways,
Mm.
or unhinged, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're unhinged, or Tinder, or Bumble, or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that when it comes down to that, that's the biggest thing is just to look at us and just be like, I, I don't I don't want to ever have to deal with multiple people and thinking like, okay, because it's just a lot of you have to keep up with. You know,
Yeah.
I got to write this down. Oh, I got, this girl, K, J, L, and M. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's just no, it's just a lot. But to anybody that can do it and do it the way that they can, like, my hats off to you. You know what I mean?
Man.
Hats off to you. I think I might have said I'm a no G. So you know what I'm saying? My days of think I'm about to juggle is over.
You'd be like, "Hey, baby girl. Hey, baby girl.
Right.
Hey, baby girl."
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Keep a common name, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Baby girl.
But
I like baby girl. I can't believe baby girl is my pet name. Yeah, baby girl. This is baby girl.
oh my
Her,
god, I'm done.
serious. Baby girl.
That is hilarious. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, maybe I had questions, but for me, I think also I'm more of like a hmm. Yeah, I have to like fill the person out, right?
Hmm?
Um I'm probably a snob when it comes to the whole dating thing. I don't know. Maybe that's why my butt's still single.
You know, it could be any multiple reasons why but yeah.
I choose not to date. I mean, I choose not to be in a serious relationship right now. Just because the interest okay, let me rewind. I'm more of like a empath, right? And so I feel the vibe, even though things aren't said, it's said,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
And so I match the energy. So if you're not as energetically connecting with me, then I pretty much shy away like a
Hmm.
clam or something.
Yep.
Um, and I think it's just the interest. I think for me, I lose interest. Maybe that's what it is. I lose interest quickly because of maybe something the person like, and it could be my trigger. And I've been healing on that too, where um, you see the same tendencies as your
Hmm.
past partner, and you're like,
Hmm.
"Woo, red
Yes.
flag,
Yes.
back it up, right?" And
Yes.
so that right there, I question myself these days now. Like, I wonder if what was the connotation behind it? I see, I'm very analytical too, so I'm trying to back away from that as well. But I'm trying to be like a third party person where I'm taking that information or that data and I'm saying, okay, well, this is not what he likes, right? Um, but then also the tone of the delivery, because I think that also plays a role as far as what the person really meant. Do you think like the tonality also and the delivery and I would say aggression, but I think probably being a woman maybe or being like an emotional species, we tend to maybe take things the wrong way. And I'm trying to put the masculinity in it, like, okay, well, this is probably what he meant, but he didn't really mean it in a bad tonality. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to get to is like navigating through your triggers when they're happening.
Right.
If I'm correct, like something's happening, it's triggering you, but it's it's because of something from the past. But how do you figure out whether or not you're okay with that? And is that trigger a trigger or a red flag?
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I'm also going to be a relationship doctor soon here. No, I'm joking.
Yeah,
Um,
no, please, please.
no, no. So honestly, I really think that that's the biggest thing when it comes down to it. We have to navigate whether or not am I triggered because of something from the past, or am I really looking at this and being like, that's a red flag for me.
Mm,
And I think the best way for us to figure out whether or not we want to do that is to really learn how to have firm and strict boundaries with ourselves.
mhm.
You know,
Right.
obviously, if you're triggered, triggers are going to come out up because there's always going to be things, you know what I mean? And if your partner understands, like I've spoken where I'm like, man, I was really triggered by that. But I know it's not because of that, because it's because something that happened with
Right.
the relationship. So I don't, and sometimes I probably over talk, like I over communicate sometimes. Sometimes I need to shut up. But there'd be times where I would say that. And people, and the females still be offended. Like, I can't believe you think I'm like, I don't, I'm all like, oh, shoot, this person's not real either. Like, I don't want to have to deal with any of that. But you should be able to open up and say something like that
Yeah.
because it's the honest truth. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And then being transparent is also like very important when it comes down to that.
Mhm,
So I think the biggest thing is like knowing what your deal breakers are for one. Like I
mhm,
have this solid boundary that's with myself.
mm,
My biggest boundary for everything is do not disturb my peace.
mm.
You
Yeah.
know, it's and here's the kicker behind that. It's really hard to disturb my peace because the world could be blowing up and I still will be at peace because
Okay.
peace comes from within, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if the peace is coming from within, then nobody's going to be able to shake that, you know
Right.
what I mean, and disturb that. And then awareness and understanding of everyone. This is
Mm,
one thing that I talk about in my spiritual beliefs. When you are more aware and attuned to being aware of what's going on around you,
mhm,
what you find actually, and this is kind of another reason why I end up being like single a lot of times or not making decisions, is because what I find out is that I don't know if I want to be around all that stuff sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like being an empath. You're serious. You
for
just be like,
real. Oh my God.
I don't even know if I want to go down that route because I look at it totally different, especially if you did something back in the day that, somebody's like, hey, we should go do this. And you're like, I don't know. Because we all have a period of learning and growing. Now,
Mhm.
whether or not we do that, that's individual. But other than that, everybody has that.
Yeah.
So you just kind of find yourself in those positions where you're trying to navigate,
Mhm.
like people and personalities. Now, a person like me, um, I love to be around people. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But I'm also an entertainer, and I'm also love to talk, and I love to hear about other people,
Yeah.
and their experiences, especially because while I'm here in my human form, I want to know about your human experience that you're having
Mhm.
until we both come back together into the divine, because that spirit, that energy, that divine energy is always going to go back to the same space.
Yeah.
So, and I put a lot of that into it. So that's kind of how I look at it for the most part. I'm
What
trying
you
to,
know?
sorry,
Uh,
I'm just trying to gather information. That's it. That's all I do. I'm just trying to
I
gather information.
I love it. I love it. You know what I've learned so far is an energy, right? The vibration and the frequency of people.
Yep.
So, you ever had like, I don't know, scrolling Instagram or a YouTube channel that you came upon and you're like, I really like her. I really like his energy. You know what I mean? So you keep going, like you subscribe because you really like that person's energy. And I've learned that it's okay to there's levels to this,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
I've learned to get I call it now I had a download. I call it the jackpot energy, right?
Okay.
So like when you find people that are so magnetic, like so high energy, you want to be around that frequency all the time because you want to stay in that state of high frequency and calmness, right? Peace. Because that's where, for me, I think the secret sauce is the calmness and the peace. Because, like you said, when you have peace within, nothing can break you because
Hmm.
you already have the peace.
Yeah.
So everything can be falling apart, but you know you're solid.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been learning, though. Just feeding off the frequency from people that have that really high energy and that's self-aware
Yes.
of themselves, like
Yeah.
how you're saying,
Hmm.
and and navigating right through feedback. Like there's this lady, I'll give you an example. She lost all her teeth, right? Because I think she had like a tumor or something. So her bone structure was deteriorating. So
Hmm.
they had to pull out all her teeth. And she's viral on Instagram, I think TikTok, I'm not sure. But um, there's of course crazy people that like diminish her shine. So they're saying, "Oh, why do you do this? Why can't you keep that stuff personal?" And then she told a story as to what happened to her teeth
Hmm.
because and the reason why she's doing these clips is to help her raise up her vibration and her spirit because of this such detriment that she went through.
Hmm.
She said
Hmm.
nobody I don't think, I mean, you can imagine, like, all of a sudden you lose all your teeth. She's a gorgeous woman. Like, and now she has to wear dentures, right? So she's a comedian and like that's how she deals with her detriment. You know what I mean? And so I was like, wow, you just never know what people are going through and how they're able to I would say self medicate through laughter, through the laughter of medicine, right?
Yes.
And that's what I got from her. And I'm like, see, we need a lot of people like this that's self-aware and that's actually making an impact because there's probably other people that's dealing with this or that trauma.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I've actually seen that too on social media where I don't know what the specific girl was or whatever, but she had lost all of her teeth, but then when soon as she puts her dentures in or whatever, she's gorgeous. She's,
Yeah,
and not to say that she's not gorgeous without her teeth, but I'm just saying like, you know, she wants to feel that confidence back. She gets it back when she puts those teeth in. Um, I would like to say that for me, hearing the reasoning why she's doing that, and if we're speaking about energy, she's raising her vibrations by calling her energy back into herself.
mhm.
She's bringing herself to allow her to be at the most vulnerable state, right?
Yes, exactly, because that
You
is
know?
vulnerable in front
Yeah,
of millions of people.
and this is why they're all talk about your vulnerability is your strength, and she's allowing herself to be open enough that even when people say crazy stuff to her, because they probably say crazy stuff, now she's turning that vulnerability into her greatest strength.
Yeah,
Literally, she's
yeah,
taking that and she's all like, "No, now it's not going to affect me because this is what I feel the most insecure about, or the most vulnerable about, or you know what I'm saying." And I'm using it to, like positively. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Unlike like the meth girl that lost her teeth and now she's all like, "Oh, I bet you let me stop." Like, I've seen it all. I used to work in the hospital. I've seen crazy mess. That's all I want to say. So either way, like that's one thing that I will tell you, that when you're in those positions where you feel like you're kind of like things have just drastically changed and they slipped away and now the tragedy is there, we do stuff to try to call back in our energy. Now, whether it's not, if it's negative or positive, because life is full of both, right?
Yeah.
um so hopefully we do the positive things. Music was my greatest outlet for
Oh
my
yeah.
situation, so I dove right into it. I took my heart and my emotions and I applied it to it because I know, and being a great student and understanding that when you put your emotions into it, that's when you're going to have some of the best works of art. Like I have some music still that I'm like I've never released that I recorded like 4 years ago
Mhm.
because I'm like this is vulnerable music to me, and I know I want to make sure that I do this correctly and do it right.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that's the biggest portion to it. She's just calling her energy back into herself, and kudos to her because that's a hard thing to do. I couldn't imagine like going through something like that and being wanting to be like, check me out, you know. And sure, I actually in if people laugh at it and they're like, hey, people are just laughing, even if they're laughing at me or whatever. Like, look at this chick, she ain't got no arms and legs. Oh my goodness, like they don't care.
Right. Right.
It's not changing anything. You're watching them,
Yeah.
and lo and behold, how many followers they have or whatever brand deals they got, they could be making money off of you right now. So sure,
Yeah.
tune in and laugh at me all you want, dog. I'm getting paid, and
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that. Some people be like, you're just exploiting yourself or whatever, and some people aren't. But to
Mhm.
each their own. You know what I mean? So I just think that when it comes down to it, that's all she's doing. She's just really just drawing her energy back into herself. And yeah, I mean, we all can learn from doing stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so true. Going back, I know we're bouncing back to the relationship or the divorce.
Hmm.
What I found myself for some reason, when I got my divorce, or really in my mind, we weren't even together even during the marriage, like on the end,
Yes.
towards the ending.
Yeah.
I've already, let's see, 2016. I pretty much made in my mind that I was done, like maybe 3 or 4 years before the actual final divorce happened.
Hmm.
And once that happened, I found myself, because I've always been a health and wellness fit type of person. So I love hitting the gym, working out. Prior to COVID, I was doing beach body. So like the guy P90X guy or Beast or what have you. What's it called? Insanity. So I was doing these
Sean
types.
T. You talking
Yeah.
about Sean T?
Uh-huh. I was doing these
Yeah.
crazy
That's right.
workouts.
Sorry, my bad. Sean T. Yeah, he whip a lot of people in the shape. Yeah, I
And
know what you're talking about.
and
Yeah.
then I was doing the shakes, and then I went from that to fasting. Like I literally at one point I started fasting like 16 to 18 hours for like a year. And then I was like, let me try to do 20 hours. And so like I literally every day 20 hours
Hmm.
did eat for a whole year. Maybe I should have kept it going, but I mean, it didn't affect or anything, but I lost a ton of weight, right? And during that process, I think that's when my healing, like really spirituality and my healing process started. Because when you fast, you don't have anything in your system. Your soul, your spirit, your energy is clean. It's clear. Your mind is clear. You have so much energy. I know this sounds like, how can you have energy if you don't have any food or whatever? But I felt like a high. Like I felt light,
Yeah.
right? Because uh of not eating, of not consuming. I was like just consuming spirituality,
Hmm.
source, one
Yeah.
with God and source. So during that time, I just felt like an elevation coming on, and I felt like more in tune with people, with myself, like the whole self-awareness. And not saying that I was me. I mean, I think I'm pretty even keel. I think I'm pretty cool, nice. What, I don't know. What do you think? Anyway,
I think.
yeah, what the heck? But but I think it rids the negativity. It rids the negative self-talk. It rids the just any type of negative people around or negative energy around you.
Yes.
That's what I learned from or during my fasting, and then really going into hermit mode, because I mean I'm pretty much
That's
a hermit, but I really went
yeah.
into hermit mode, and things just started to shift.
Mhm. You need that solitude too. I think it's like that dark night of the soul that comes along with that. And to kudos to you for the fasting. I fast too, and I lost a bunch of weight fasting as well. I mean, obviously, if you're not consuming anything, your body still got to consume something. So, fat, here it goes. You know what I mean? So that's how you lose weight from that through a process called ketosis,
Hmm.
and everybody can look that one up. Other than that, yeah, it's something that I think for the spiritual side, when you're shifting and you're releasing all that stuff, part of the reason why you feel lighter is because you're automatically releasing, you're resetting your body, and your body is performing at optimal.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
that's the reason why people be like, "How can you not eat? Like, I gotta have something to eat." Like, that's a fragment of your mind.
Yeah.
Nobody has to have something to eat. And I have people who are all like, "It's not good for women," and probably not good for like everybody. And I always say, like, "Yeah, it's probably not good for women. Make sure you eat protein." You know what I mean? But that's just how we're made as people. We're
Yeah.
made for us to we're not made for us to be, you know, I had breakfast and then I had a snack after that, and then I had another snack, and I had lunch, and I had another snack, and then I had dinner. Like, we're that's actually not how we're even, made as
Right.
people. But I digress. When it comes down to it, you know what I'm saying? But you release something and you start becoming a little bit more clear. And that's how, like, another thing too, because when it goes into relationships and looking for people that you might want to be with, you start seeing things from a different point of view. Your perspective starts to change. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And even though, like, there was like, I think I was unhinged, and there was a few women that I was like, oh, she's cute, she's cute, she's cute. And then there was one that was like drop dead, and I was like, oh my god. But it was more to that for me though. So it wasn't like just because of the looks, like I needed to figure you out. I needed to talk to you. I needed to see what you're about.
Right.
And I think a few of them, like I mean, I made a went on a date with a couple of them, and just stuff just doesn't fit. If the vibrations are off, then
Yeah.
it's just not, and we're gonna feel the vibes, and we can break down why, um, and how what that is when it comes down to the vibrations, because everybody has their own biosphere.
Mm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like the world has a biosphere, everybody has a biosphere, and that's constant energy flowing in and out of you. And so that's that polar negative and and positives, which
Hmm.
it's just like that, that attraction. So which one are you leaning more? Are you leaning more in that negative energy? You leaning more in that positive energy? And if you're attuned to it, you're gonna read that and you're gonna see that. And let
Hmm.
alone us fasting and then losing weight because we're going through some stuff. Um, our eyes are even that much more open to seeing those things. So it's like another sense, honestly.
Yeah. It's really interesting, just this world that we live in, because, and I'm not gonna digress, but the whole dating thing isn't what it used to be. Or maybe that's our perception, because maybe because we didn't have the internet. There's like a lot of there's multi factors to this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anywho, going to the next thing, we were talking about the honeymoon phase, right?
Mhm.
What do you think makes sense? Or excuse me, what do you think makes the honeymoon phase so intense in the beginning of a relationship?
Uh, I think that kind of goes back to the same answer that I had. Um, the newness of it all, that new energy, um, more electrifying. You don't know somebody's flaws yet, so all you see is them as perfection. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they're perfect, they're this, they're that, and then later on, and then you're shielded, honestly, because they probably still do those things that are imperfect, but you don't really know that they're imperfect because you have this blinder on that's showing you, like, hey, I don't see anything else except for, this girl's wild in bed, or she likes to laugh a lot, and we go and have fun, and it's like a high of being able to do all these different things. You know what I mean? Um, that's the honeymoon phase. That's the oh, I got you this or I got you that and I love you and I do this. You know what I mean? And how long will that last? You know what I'm saying? And it should last for a good time if you know
It
yourself
should.
quite
Yeah.
well. But then even then, like some people, like it's crazy because some people will be in that phase and it's more of an illusion and they know it's an illusion. You know what I
Oh.
mean? And so it doesn't wear off. They kind of have to feel like I have to keep up with this. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
I got to keep up this motion and this, that, and the other. And, you know, and even though I don't want to keep this up, I just want to be authentic and me and true to who I am, you know, especially if they're the deceptive one, right? Like
Oh.
you know, like this is coming, I'm thinking about it from a different perspective now. They're the deceptive one, right? And they're
Yeah.
all like, nah, I can do better. This is grass is greener syndrome is one of the things too that causes this. It really is true.
Really?
People have grass is greener on the other side syndrome so bad. And we are
Wow.
all victims of it. Maybe not everybody, but for majority of people can be victims of grass is greener syndrome,
Huh.
where they're like, I know I can do better over here, not realizing that the best that they have is right there with them already. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Now I get it if it's like, you know, somebody's like not pulling their weight or whatever. But on the other side of things, if things are good and the person's like, nobody on the outside can see like things being really bad and they're not really a deceptive person, you got to hold up that. You know what I mean? Because once you leave that and you're like, no, I'm doing better and don't have a lot of pride. This happens to a lot of men. Don't
Mm.
have a lot of pride, even though I feel like I've seen someone who's had like just the most craziest amount of pride to feel like I'm doing good and this, that, and other, and I got to hold up this, you know, and and keep continuing on down that path, right?
Wow.
Like that's rare though. That is very rare. I feel like most people just, you know, the reason why it comes in is just because it's that new energy, and then they just release
Yeah.
and let go, and then they're just like, okay, what do we have? Okay, this dude that I thought it's kind of like body dysmorphia, right?
Okay, I see.
You see what I'm saying? Like I see you in this light,
Hmm.
and what happens once that filter change? There we go. That's the best way of doing it. Like the
Mm.
filter changed, and now I'm all like, oh, or the beauty filter was taken off, the
Yeah.
bold glamour filter was taken off. You know what I mean? And now I
Yeah.
actually see you for who you are. You know what I mean? You might not like that version of that person. You know,
Hmm.
I and side note, I think that instead of women putting on beauty filters, they should put on an ugly filter. And then when we see you in real life, we be like, damn, girl, you look way better than I thought. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But a lot of women will be like, bold glamour filter till they're blue in the face. And I'm all like, why though? I just want to see that you have like, you know, this dimple over here that's now no longer there, or you got this mole that's on your face that I don't get to see anymore. You know what I mean? Because you got a bold glamour filter on. You know, we're
Mhm.
some of us are we're in our 40s and 50s and things like that. Some of us are. I'm sorry.
I know for
And
real.
we get these bags in our eyes, and it just happens. And it's all part of living our lives. And you know, if we can see it from from the person and their heart and what it is that's going on the inside of them, then that's where we can start looking at things and being like,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm fine no matter what. Like
Right.
even after I like, if you're aware of it, I'm aware. Like
Yeah.
me, I was fully aware that there's a point where the how do I say it, I don't know why I'm saying it like this, God, it's slipping my mind right now. um the honeymoon phase. I don't know why I couldn't think about that. I become fully aware of knowing that the honeymoon phase is gonna wear off, right?
Hmm.
And so once the honeymoon phase wears off, I was just like, okay, I know once that wears off, it's, you know, the long haul game, you know. And I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit different when people have little kids together, or when they just have little kids in general, and they're all like have a mutual partnership to be like, we got to take care of these kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
totally different then because you get to see what people are really made of. And then
Mm.
you get to discover things about yourself that you never would ever expect. You know what I'm saying? Or you would be like, "No, I'm not ready to settle down," and or this is terrifying. I don't think I could be a father, or you know what I mean. Like just the thought of having all this pressure on me as a mom because it feels like everything's on me. Like it's understandable, you know.
Yeah. You know, two. Well, I have three things, but the first thing I want to note is the honeymoon phase. So I believe, right? I still believe in love. No, I believe like there's couples out here that are so in love and they're in this honeymoon phase. Of course, they have like probably slight bickering, but I truly believe that there are couples out here that have that infinite, unconditional abundance of love. Where, how can I explain it? It's like hand and glove. It's like a glue that can't break, if that makes sense. It's like concrete where you guys seamlessly come together as one. It's like osmosis. Well, is it osmosis? Well, anyway, I'm trying to think of a terminology, right? Where there's couples out here that, and I would probably want to research this later, but they can't wait to be with their person,
Right.
right? Their partner. There's levels to this. I believe there's levels to this, right? Like you have energy, I have energy. 8 billion people have different energies. But there's that true match of energy coming together and being as one big force of energy. Kind of
Mhm.
like is it the Legends of Tomorrow when um talking right, yeah, with my comics. When what's his name? Dr. Stein fuses with I forget what his name. Oh my god, I'm probably gonna they'll be like, come on, you know what his name is.
And you
They
by yourself in this one. I don't know what you're talking
you're
about.
like, wait, what? Okay, two superheroes. Okay, let me think. Transformers. Let's just talk
Oh,
about
okay,
Transformers.
okay.
So like when the Transformers fuse together and they make, the big
Hmm.
Transformer.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Like becoming like a powerhouse between each other, and that like
Like,
combining, conjoining.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so seamless because see, love, I believe, shouldn't be difficult. It should be, and maybe this is my hopeless romantic side coming out, but it should be like, oh, you're injured. Let me go ahead and nurse you to health, right? Let me do this. You would think, at least this is Annette's brain, right? Oh, he's sick. Let me go ahead and make him some soup. Let me do this. Let me make sure his pillow is fluffed or,
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
Hmm.
um, and then vice versa. I just feel like people are too, the ego gets in the way.
Oh, of course. You hit it right in the nose when you said the ego.
Yeah, but I believe too, like two people can come together and actually are a true match. That actually want to do it. You know,
Hmm.
it's a difference. Okay, like when you're with somebody, you're like, I have to do this for this person. And that's because they're giving this energy, this like negative energy towards you to bring out the worst in you. Because I've had a relationship like that where he y- he'll bring out the wickedness or the
Hmm.
whatever out of you, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm not that. I'm not. That's not me.
Hmm.
I'm a happy.
Yeah, yeah, because you blend it. That's part of the reason why, because just like you're saying, you blended in that energy with someone else. You can join, you combine part of your energy with someone else. You could take on someone else's energy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And if you're known as a bubbly, happy person, you know what I mean? And next thing you know, you are with somebody else and you've been with them for a while, and now you're just being this nasty person. Like, you're probably not like that to everybody, but with him, you know what I mean? Or with them or whatever, yeah, that bad part of you starts to come out, and you're like, man, I'm not even like this. But it's like,
yeah,
but it's because they, you know,
Yeah.
There's a thing in spiritual we'll have to go down. We'll have to do a whole nother thing about spirituality. But the thing in spirituality that goes along with this is that, and I'm not. This is not a scapegoat of anything, but it's just to help you understand the awareness of it all and where I'm at. But there's a part of having a spirit of toxicity that feeds off of other people being toxic.
Yeah.
So that person who has that toxicity in them needs that conflict. That's the reason why you feel those people that is all like, and they'll be honest and they'll tell you like, man, I'm kind of like this, but I need a little bit of excitement, and conflict, or whatever. It's like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and I've seen it before. I've had other people that are all like, man, I need him to fight a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, who wants that? But
I
yeah,
know.
right. Nobody really wants that. But even then, even if they're not really saying it, like you can take on somebody else's energy very easily, especially if you're an empath. Like, you know what I mean? Like we've been talking about that empathic spirit. It's like automatically you are going to soak up somebody else's energy. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. I mean, the thing about it is, and yeah, that's another discussion, but I believe that you can also be with somebody that's in a light that likes positivity.
Yes.
So like two positive people coming together in this perfect world, right? And they like have a combustion of like just positivity and it radiates. So like people you're walking down in the mall or something and people look at you like, wow, wow. Yeah, okay, so let me give you an example. Because no couple is perfect. I get it. But there's few couples that I follow, right? I forgot what their name is, and but he's a chef and she's like an influencer. I'll send it to you later. But she's like the quirkiest, goofiest, fun personality type, right?
Hmm.
And he's like he's a chef and he's not like serious. I mean, he seems to have like a fun side to him, like even kill, more reserved,
Right.
right? But it's a really good dynamic, and he's like going with it. I don't know how to explain it. Like they both have such a beautiful. Again, it's of course social media, but you can tell. For me, I can tell it's authentic. You know, like they have this like dynamic. Like, I'll give you an example. They're at a shoe store and she's trying on some heels, right? And she does like, because I think she was a dancer, like a ballerina or whatever.
Hmm.
She'll do like cartwheels, like a cartwheel, right, with her the new
I
heels
think I
on.
know exactly what you're talking about, but go
And
ahead.
he's like, Christy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could totally see myself probably not doing a cartwheel because I can't really do a cartwheel. I probably can't. But anyway, I'll probably do something silly like that. That's
Fun.
just that's me, right? But I don't want to be with somebody that's like, oh, be quiet. Oh, calm down.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Who's like trying to
like
cycle that type of shine down or whatever, because
I
they might feel embarrassed or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, and that's the type of personality I dated in the past. And I'm like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like I mean, obviously, there are couples out here that got together and they have such like positive energy. And you're like, shoot, I want to go to the store, get some heels, and do some cardio. You get what
Right.
I'm saying,
I
though?
get what
Like,
you're saying. That's a very attractive thing to be like, oh, I want a partnership that's like that. You know what I mean? And I understand why other people feel that way. I think my perspective is a little bit different because I can do whatever. I can go and be the reserve. I'm probably not going to be reserved though. I'm probably going to be the goofy one. Um, or I can be the goofy one. I can be the one that's like the life of the party and like wants the people to come together. Um, I just don't want to stop moving more than anything. When
right,
that's my biggest thing. But the other side of it is you have those people that you know that have that. Now I never look at couples and I'm all like I desire that. Like especially right now. I just don't look at it and I'm all like, man, I like seeing happy couples. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
I'm all for it. And it actually brings me joy to see people happy and together. But I'm not the type of person that will ever feel like, oh, I want a relationship like theirs. No,
Mhm.
I'll never be like that for myself because I want my relationship, my own designer relationship. And the
Yeah,
best way of learning how I want to get designer relationship is to understand myself through and through 100%.
right.
You know what I mean? Understand where the weaknesses are that I have to face and become better at, you
Mhm.
know, and then I can put my best foot forward. It's
Right.
not going to be perfect, and I will
Mm.
always put that out there. But I know that I'm giving my all to everything. Um, so that's the type of deal that I would like. And then I'm not a when I'm in relationships too. I'm not necessarily unless like she's an influencer too. Like I can understand that or entertainer. But other than that, I'm not the type of person to be like, check me out and my my um my girlfriend. And I'm like posting her on pictures. I'm like, this is my
Oh,
girlfriend and this is my boyfriend and I'm not a Instagram poster like that. And I'm not knocking other people that are, but for me, it's just there's a level of protection that I feel like people need to have
uh-huh.
and secrecy in their relationships that
Mhm.
people need to have. Um, and Instagram is definitely not one of the places.
Right?
Yeah. For
No,
me, for
facts.
me, for me,
Yeah.
like, don't get me wrong, doesn't mean I won't ever like have a snippet and they be like, "Oh, that's his girl." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I never knew that. With that, you're gonna think that I'm Tommy from Martin, but with girls. Well, you ain't got no girl, Tommy. What are you talking about? I never seen you with no girl. You know,
Right, right.
God rest his soul, but you ain't got no girl.
Yeah.
So uh, yeah, that's how I would be, more than
Yeah.
anything. And that's just a protective mechanism for me. And it was actually that was a boundary that was set after
Mm.
a trigger, you know what I mean, for me.
Oh, oh,
So I set that boundary of being like, okay, nope, because when you're dealing with people and especially people who don't know who they are,
right.
they fall for everything.
Mhm.
Like it's like you ever walk a dog or and they see a like like squirrel and the dog sees the squirrel like
Yeah, yeah.
that's how some people are in relationships, you know what I mean? And it's
Wow.
not that they're looking at like and that's just with everything, you know what I mean? Like some people are just impulsive and they're just automatically like what's the next best thing and this that thing and this I don't want to go here and then and it's
Yeah.
all like not all these options that are out here are for you, you know what I
Right,
mean? You got to
right.
understand that there's some snakes out here too, and there's some people
Mhm.
that aren't, there's people that cover their stuff up, and then there's people that just don't want to see you win, and they don't want to see you happy at all,
I know, right?
And I've seen that amongst, which is kind of crazy because I think female groups come together and they're so strong and tight, but I've seen it so much more amongst female groups than I've ever seen in any other group where women are just like so envious and jealous and spiteful to each other. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
all
yeah.
like, yo, y'all don't like,
Ooh.
there's no reason to be that way. Like, come on, like everybody
Yeah.
can chase their own happiness. But I also
Yeah.
understand a little bit why it's like that, because we have positive and negatives. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And we gotta have some negative people out here. We're gonna have some positive people out here because if it was just all positive, we wouldn't know what to do with ourselves. It'd be
That's
boring. Honestly, it'd be all like
that's true.
that'd be a good movie, the happiness movie where everything's just so happy. I guess they did do that. It's called Inside Out, right?
Yeah.
With the kids. I thought I was thinking of something original.
You know what's crazy? Well, maybe at one point, and not if I wasn't dating a like an influencer or someone that's
Like
out
out
there,
there.
like
Mhm.
yeah. At one point, I was like, well, I just wanted to post like the family picture or whatever, but my whole mindset has changed from way back then to now because it's like for me, I totally agree with you. I believe in protecting the family. I believe in protecting just everything. Meaning, like it's not saying that you're hiding somebody, or not saying that you're hiding your significant other. I think it's also it's a disservice, right?
Yes.
Because what ends up happening is the person, the entertainer, like say for you, um, it probably wouldn't help to know, how can I explain it? I might get my head bit off, but it probably wouldn't help for you to announce your significant other just because of your space. You're in the entertainment space, if that makes sense. Meaning, women, and I'm not saying like the numbers or whatever, but typically, if a man or a woman is shown as single, it's like, okay, I'm vibing with him or I'm vibing with her as far as like the attraction, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, uh, maybe I'm
Sure.
left field,
Sure. I
but
mean,
and if she
yeah.
has a business, right? She don't. I mean, for me, I know if I was dating an entertainment person or someone that has a bit like clout or a big influence, I don't think I would want to be showcased. You know, I would rather prefer to be behind the scenes.
Yes. Yeah. I
You
can. Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
like
I mean, and that's each his own. When it comes in the entertainment world, yeah, of course, like majority of the women aren't gonna unless they're another entertainer. Some of them might want to be out there, but then you got to understand, like, what do you want to be with me for? You want to be with me for because you want to be out there, or you want to be with me because you want to be with me? You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah,
So you start thinking about it from that aspect. But for the other side of it, like, sure, I can see people who are like, no, I don't want to be out there like that. I want to be in the back and sit in the back. And um, I think when it comes down to the persona of, especially on like Instagram, like, sure, the
yeah,
persona of being like that person is just doing it. I know I have so many other friends that are influencers that are married that don't show their spouses at all on their page, and you know what I mean. And it all it does is just prompts you to ask the question like, "Hey, are you and such and such still together?" Yeah, yeah, okay, cool. I just want to know because you don't know. You know what I mean? And part of it is because they don't want you to know, and not because they're out here sneaking and trying to be like
right.
promiscuous, but because it's like that's not what this channel is about. It's not about that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll
Right,
give you in small pieces of my world, and then I have my personal Instagram that's over
right,
here that got all my family photos on there, got my kids and everybody in there. You know what I mean? So yeah, you just kind of like you know how to separate and navigate between both worlds when it comes down to
right.
that. I don't know what it would feel like to date an entertainer.
Mhm.
I've never dated an entertainer,
Yeah,
but I'm the entertainer, so I guess kind
yeah,
of it is how I am, you know what I'm saying, and how I feel about things. But I think if it's like some people are they want that immediately, and not like I'm just not an immediate. Let me put my girl out here type person. I'm just not like that.
yeah,
I want to feel things out, you know what I'm saying, because people become very um I have a more spiritual reason why,
yeah,
and more of a superstitious reason why I don't put my significant others out there. But other than that, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It really just boils down to you and that person.
yeah.
So it's not because I say that people are like, oh yeah, we got to do that because King Jacob said it. No, you do what's best for you in your relationship and what
Right.
works. But for the most part, that's just where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm not. I'll be open to it, but I just feel like for me personally, if two people have their own platforms or doing what have you, they're out in the public's
Mhm.
eye, I guess,
Yeah,
it makes it a little bit more advantageous to keep it behind the scenes for
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
No, I
it
definitely
makes it
understand.
easier. I know. I don't know how we got into that, and now we're like almost top of the hour, a little
Yeah,
bit
no,
top
I
of the
just saw
hour.
that. I saw that, but I mean, we also can be like we said, it's going to be a series of segments. So
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
also are we even halfway in there?
Uh, we can continue. No, not really. Well,
Well,
let
yeah,
me.
I didn't think so. We can continue though. That's fine. That's not a problem. We can definitely continue if it permits for you to.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Okay, so so the next question is, and I can edit, but the psychology need for validation, right?
Yes.
How does the desire for validation affect behavior in relationships? And do you think people are more likely to go above and beyond to seek approval from a new partner?
I think when it comes down to validation, you got to first figure out what type of validation are you looking for, right?
Hmm.
Because
Wow.
kids look for external validation.
Okay.
Adults shouldn't look for external validation. We're adults.
Right.
Some adults never mature enough to realize you don't need external validation. I don't
Mm,
need everybody to like me. I never need everybody to like me, as a matter of fact. Like, if you don't like me, okay, it doesn't affect me. You know what I mean? Or looking for somebody's approval. Like, that's another thing. I don't need parental approval. I'm grown. You know what I'm saying?
Hello.
But some people still feel like I got to talk to my mom, my dad, and I'm like,
Oh wow.
and I'm looking at them like, don't get me wrong. I appreciate the fact that they have relationships and they're respectful to their parents, but I'm still like it just doesn't fit my programming. That whole entire part where it's all like I gotta go talk to my, when it comes down to like hand in marriage,
Interesting.
deal. But after a relationship starts, you shouldn't go to your parents. I'm
Yeah.
taking pictures because what you end up doing is that you start talking about your significant other because they irritate you and they do this and they do that. You start talking
Oh
about all this negative stuff and they meant, and now this parent is painting this picture of like, oh, and you
yeah.
don't think of anything else. And people do that all the time. Friends, I'm
Yeah.
gonna just vent and talk about all the without being like this person. But now I got to breathe through and understand this person is this immaculate person because nobody's perfect out here. We're gonna
Right.
do stuff that we're gonna get annoyed about. Somebody's gonna snore when you sleep next to each other. Like somebody's gonna be the farter or whatever. You know what I mean? Somebody's gonna be
Not
that
me. No,
person.
just kidding. I'm perfect. No.
Right, exactly. But that's the raw real of it. Somebody's gonna be that person. Somebody's gonna be that person. Um, and then from there, just got to figure out whether or not does it fit in with you or does it not.
Funny.
But it's the truth though. I mean, does it or does it not? You know, and
Too.
and and, and move on from there. But you don't need when it comes down to that validation. Like those people that need people to like them,
Mhm.
they're not my people. Those
Right.
people
Right.
that need everybody to look at them,
Right.
like it's one thing if it's like I need everybody to look at me because I'm selling an album or I got these shirts or I got this that I'm doing. So another thing that I was like, I want people to look at me for me.
Right.
Unless you're like trying to just be an overall influencer, like I'm not knocking people for being influencers and being, all that, those type of things because I think that there's a lot of beautiful things that you can discover with people. And some people are silent influencers. It's just, so there's different takes to it too.
That's true.
Um, where they post some of the most beautiful pictures with a little small saying on the side that says this, and it's like, man, I really love that and it touched me. And then some people are just like, look at me. But when it comes into life, now you once you've posted everything that you needed to post, and now you're stepping away from this camera and you're still doing the same shit that you did, excuse my language, I don't know, but you're
Uh,
still doing the same stuff that you're doing to be, in the camera and all this other stuff, then it's like, okay, now you're just doing it for external validation. You know what I mean? Or you're doing it because you think other people are going to like it that are around you. What do you want to do? You know what I mean? What's good to you? Um, I was with somebody for a very long time that had the craziest code switch. Could be a hanging out with the black chicks and it was hood, and then next thing you know, code switch and be like talk like they're the whitest person and this, that, and other. Like, yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, you're all these people then. This is the United States of Terra. I wonder if anybody will get that reference. The United States of Terra. Okay, you're all these people all rolled in one. you know, even though that would be fun to date a girl like United States of Terra and she's got multiple personalities until it got to Buck. Then it'd be like, okay, wait a minute, Buck. I need one of them other women back immediately.
Oh my
Um,
god.
but that would be like awesome. You'd be like, oh, shoot, I got all these girls, you know. I'm joking.
No, 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 you're not. No, you're not.
I'm joking.
Wink,
No,
wink, wink, wink.
right. I'm joking.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
no, I mean it's just we that my take on it. External validation is
Yeah.
that's starting the wheel of bringing everybody into your situation. People that don't belong there into your situation. People that don't like your situation, who don't want to see you in your situation. And so they
Right?
do whatever they want. They do whatever they can do to disrupt your situation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then and then especially don't be somebody who knows that and then you still keep that person around.
That's
There's
crazy.
no, it's just like there's no coming back from any of that. Like you just that means there was no worth and value in yourself for one, and two, in your relationship.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah. It's
So
like clickbait, you know. Oh, that looks cute. And then
yeah,
all of a sudden then you have another pop-up, all these pop-up windows come up and they're like, oh my God, now they got your information. And like now Alexa's like, hey, we noticed you need multivitamins.
yeah,
What? I didn't even say anything.
yeah. I mean, and now, right, and that's the craziest part. You don't gotta scroll or anything. You just gotta mention something. Your phone's like, what? What you say?
Look,
I'm gonna need my cell phone to get out of my business.
right? You know what's so crazy?
Yeah.
Like I'm picking up Matthew, that's my oldest, right?
Mhm.
And like we're rolling down the street, and then I think it was the iPhone or whatever, the Apple device thing said, "Oh, we didn't know exact. What did you say? We were like, I didn't say anything. I didn't even say Siri or anything. Look, I
Yeah,
didn't say that, but
I know.
you get my,
What?
you get my point. Like what?
Here to
That's
go.
look, they're listening,
Yeah.
but yeah. So okay, validation. Yeah, external validation. I get it. Internal. You know, it's funny when you're growing up, you do look for these external validations,
Hmm?
but
That's
you
because
start
that's because you're trying to figure out how to fit in, right?
right.
I want people to like me. I'm trying to figure out how I fit in. Now, me as a kid, I never cared if any kids liked
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
I wanted to play football and I wanted to run niggas over. That's it.
right. Exactly. No,
That's it.
I was a lone wolf even as a kid, so like all the responsibilities, I didn't even have time to figure out this validation thing. So
Yeah.
it was very interesting. So moving on, right?
Hmm.
Speaking about the validation, um, insecurity, that's another thing.
Hmm.
So can the need for validation in a new relationship sometimes be a reaction to insecurity from past relationships or experiences?
I mean, insecurity from anything that can be caused from your childhood too. You know what I mean? And then as we grow and we're like teenagers and we're trying to fit into our bodies, you're insecure, and then you got this, oh, like,
Yeah.
now you got the teenage body, you're like, oh, look at me, I'm out here, and then life hits you after you're out of high school and graduate college, and love hits, and then your family hits, and then them hips hit, and then belly hit, and and the arms hit, and you're
Right.
like, yo, I don't like, where did all this come from? I'm a collector of weight, I've been there, and then you start having other insecurities like, does my partner still even love me or like or desire me because I look
Right.
different from what I was way back in the day? And that's a mental thing that's really true, I think, for
Hmm.
women more
Okay.
so. I think men have that same thing. Like, I know I dealt with it. Like, oh man, I don't look the way I want to. You know what I'm saying? And I want to change, but you don't know how to change. You know what I'm saying? Or you need to figure out how to change or what works for you. And then um that's always that portion of you that's like, man, I don't even know if my partner really desires or wants to be with me, especially if they're
Mm,
always like, no, don't touch me, every night. Like, don't touch me every night.
yeah,
They're like, hey, girl, I'm trying, don't touch me. Don't, you know what I mean? Get off me, whatever. My face hurts. My neck hurts. My lips hurt.
yeah,
Everything's always hurting on you.
yeah,
And there's that phase
true.
of life too. And then you start wondering, like, well, shoot, what do I need to do to remain attractive?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's that insecurity, that portion of it too. But then there's this other side of insecurity too that comes from some people, and this might hit a few. Some
Mm.
people are in a relationship with somebody that is competing with you.
That part. Yes, let's talk about this. That
And you
part,
don't even know
Lord.
that you're in a game and that you're not even like you don't even know that you're in that and you're like, huh?
Right.
Like it's specific words being said and different things like that. And it's just like, I didn't even know that I was in a game. And it takes for you to have to go all the way to being like maybe divorced or separated or being breaking up or whatever, to be like, oh shit. Like now you can see the bigger picture a little bit greater. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, and I remember that. And you're putting these pieces together and you're all like, this person was just in competition. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yep.
For example, me and my music, yet again, not once was supported by my spouse, by no means. I think there was an attempt when we went. I think there was a travel. We would travel to Vegas, and there was a small attempt of being like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to support you," and this, that, and other, which is find out was a load of crap. But either way, um, automatically, a friend of mine who's in the entertainment business was all like, "Nobody's going to not support you the most besides your immediate family, and not your immediate family is like brothers and sisters and things like that, but your immediate family that you create.
Mm.
Those people don't support you. It's the craziest thing in the world." And I'm all like, well, that's wild because they see you for somebody else besides the persona that you're living. You know what I mean? Or the person that you're becoming, or the person that you are
Mm.
that they don't want to believe that you are. So on the other
Oh
side of it,
yeah.
yeah, on the other side of it, you start looking at it and you know everybody's liking this person. And then going back into my last relationship was, I never thought I have to really go back and talk about that. Not my last relationship, but my marriage. Um, Dealing with the partner that's like got to tell me how many people like them. Like this person likes me, and like I'm friends, and they said that I'm a better friend than you are because now I work with them, and I'm all like, nigga, what? Like what? Like I didn't even know they were handing out medals for this shit. Like I would have killed it then if I knew we was playing the game, but I wasn't even knowing I was part of that game. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's
So
crazy.
yeah, or the outshining or being like, look at me, I'm glamorous, I'm this, I'm that, and you know what I mean. And I'm all like, I didn't even know, I had no idea that I was being, you know, groomed into that. So yeah, that part of it too plays a huge part as far as like the other side of insecurity that causes people to do like even just reckless things like crazy off the wall wild things, and it happens, it's truth, it's
Yeah.
we're human.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, wow, that's so I would say dehumanizing, you
Hmm.
know, degrading. I'm trying to think of the terminology to have someone that you share a bond with, life with, your life partner. It's like coming home, but you don't want to come home, you know? It's
Yeah.
because the home is your safe place. It's
Yes.
supposed to be your safe place, and you can bring anything, you can open up, you can just be vulnerable and just let your hair down,
Yeah.
right? At least you I felt the same way. I didn't know either. It's really interesting that you brought that up because all of a sudden it was, you know, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's
Hmm.
I couldn't do anything right, or just being rejected, dejected, and not like seen, not heard or seen.
Mhm.
Like I could literally be crying, right? And pouring my heart out, trying to explain like what's going on internally with me. And you're like, okay, Anne,
Mhm.
okay, well, I don't see I don't see any issues with that. You're the problem. You go fix it.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
mean, that's a ploy too, where people are just like, it's called blame shifting. Um, a lot of times, like things might not be going on, and you're the issue why this isn't going on. It's like I'm shifting the blame and turning you into a punching bag. I've been that too, where I'm all like, "How in the hell?" Like I think I might have. I don't have any hair on my head, right? I don't shave my face in the bathroom, but I used to be blamed for the bathroom drain to be clogged up all the time. I was always the like, it's your fault. Like this is happening. Like all like you always and I'm all like, wait, I don't even have hair. How is that my fault? Like I got blamed for some of the most ridiculous stuff. And I'm like, I live upstairs with three women, but it's my fault. And they all got long, luscious hair, but I'm the reason why the drain is clogged. You know what I mean? And it's just like, just straight up blame shifting. You know what I mean? And it really still is a reflection of that person's on the inside more than anything.
yeah.
Like you're not happy with your damn self.
Right.
And since you're not happy with yourself, you're mad at other people that are happy,
Yeah.
that have peace. And
Right.
you feel my aura. Because I'm telling you one thing that I will tell I like women that I choose to date and things like that, they typically know and can sense my aura. I'm a very calm and I'm a nurturing person. I just know that about myself. I know how to take the lead and step forward, or I know how to fall back. You know what I mean? One thing is that I'm always going to stay in motion with it all. So, and I'm always going to remain calm. Like I've always had a calm demeanor about myself, but
Mhm.
that women would pick up. But I've never had the peace that goes with it on the inside, and
Mhm.
so some people just get so annoyed by that, but they're holding on to demons that they can't even control. So of course, why not? Those demons are going to act up and want to destroy what's divine in front of them. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm pure divinity. You know what I mean? I just might, when God was making people, He was just like, "Oh shoot, I spilled some divinity on this brother. I spilled way too much divinity. He's gonna have way too much divinity in him. This he's gonna be a special one. Just it was an accident." I'm like, "It was an accident. You spilled this divinity on me." Like,
Oh my god.
I
This
mean,
uh it's just very interesting. Wow, we definitely have to continue on with another segment.
yeah,
I do know, and I'll leave with this is I wouldn't wish my worst enemy. I don't even have enemy, but who knows? They might be. I might be their enemy. Whatever.
yeah,
In the situation that I've dealt with, right, and it was
mhm,
very. When I say emotional, it was emotional damage. It was very emotional, very psychologically like worse than PTSD probably. Cuz like the thing about it is you have physical abuse and you have mental abuse, right? Or mental
mhm,
emotional. The mental emotional piece is there. It's not, the physical, I'm not knocking the physical abuse, but it heals, exterior, and then of course you're dealing with the mental that goes with it. But the repetitive emotional mental abuse that you're taking like a punching bag day in day out, and like you don't have any outlet, right? So imagine, like, for instance, um trying to think of a analogy. Well, let's just go ahead and say it. Imagine coming home from work, right?
mhm,
Very stressful day at a job, And the minute you step into the door, you can't even go to the restroom to use the restroom because, oh, mama's home.
Hmm.
Here's the kids.
Yeah.
And so I'm still in uniform and I'm like, can I go use the restroom?
Yeah. Like, just give me a 1 minute to decompress. You
Let
know
me
what I
take off
mean?
my boots. Let me take off my, what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and then like how, it just cycle just repeats. So, of course I'm getting the kids together, the food ready or whatever. Um, toddlers, two toddlers or whatever. And then sleeping by yourself every night, you know, it's it gets daunting. So
Hmm.
it was like a cyclic thing. And but in the exterior, it's like, oh, she has a beautiful life. She has a family, a husband, kids. It looks picture perfect, but internally, I was living through my fantasy in my mind. So what kept me sound was what I had envisioned, even though the reality, the 3D, wasn't what was in here.
Hmm.
I get really, really deep with it, with this whole psychoanalysis there, or whatever psychosis thing, because me wanting that fantasy um, marriage, that fantasy family, my kids are a blessing, but I'm saying like that, I think that's also what helped me get through those years, right? Even though I was going into work, coming home, taking care of the family, uh, going to
Yeah.
bed by myself,
Yeah.
and then starting repeating the same cycle, not getting the emotional
Hmm.
thing. It was just nothing. There was just no emotional thing. It was like, I think worse than roommates. I don't know. I think roommates probably. I don't know.
No, I mean, honestly, I think the roommate thing is
But
something. No, no, I feel that because I feel like I can relate to that portion of where you're with somebody and then you just feel like roommates. You're not even, and then it's not like then it goes from roommates to being like, oh wait, I'm somebody's slave a little bit actually, like somebody's punching bag slave. This is a dictatorship. There's a hierarchy. All those things that come along with it. Um, I think what you're trying to do is just like you deceived yourself. It was self deception to believing something.
yeah,
And not quite delusional because delusional means that you're just like you're full all the way in with your illusion that you're trying to project into yourself and into everything else and be like, this is perfect, this is that. Delusional feels like you really believe that bullshit too. You know what I mean? And it's not real. So
yeah,
I think with you, you knew it wasn't real, but you still had yourself projecting an illusion of feeling like this is, as long as it looks good on the outside, we're happy and everything, we're blessed. And let me tell you how many families are like that. Let me tell you how many families go through that. Let me tell you how many couples stay married even though they don't love each other at all, but they're loyal. That's a little different. Now, I don't want to be loyal and in a toxic relationship ever. And once it gets to the point where it's toxic and it's just like all out hate, like you got to separate.
yeah,
But
yeah,
or if one person is toxic, like, and you understand that, you can see it, then you got to feel like, okay, where do you cross? Where do you right? And the toxic person, I don't care what anybody says, is always the first person to call somebody else toxic. You're so toxic. Eh,
yeah,
I'm the toxic one because people project. That's what they do. They're always going to do that. Um, that is one of the issues that I think plague relationships altogether. But I see where you're coming from. Why you had to do that. But you're also trying to. It's hard for people to separate with other people when they've been dealing with so many different. Like your lives are so intertwined, and you like to break that all apart would be very difficult thing to do.
mm,
So why do it? People stay together because of money, because of
yeah,
bills. I got bills, so they're gonna stay together. I got this because this world is created that way, where it's like we have
Right.
to stick together, and literally huge tax breaks for people who are married. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So many different perks for married couples. You know, we want you to couple up. We want you, and then, and especially if you're married and you become a business entity to
Yeah.
in the laws, in the
Mhm.
eyes of the law, you're a business entity,
Right.
honestly. And you know what I mean? And they're like, okay, well, you're a business now, and how are you going to run it, and this, that, and other. And the only part of it is that you share emotions with each other. I guess you would in a business, but not in a romantic setting. So um yeah, I mean, it's just like there's so many different avenues and aspects of it all, that, and we're such complex creatures, because I think, and in my closing statement, if I can, one of the things that we need to understand are ourselves. And we need to understand ourselves way better than what we understand ourselves right now. And just keep doing the work to understand yourself, and then also being aware of everything else around you. This world that we live in, and this is just my take, this is not everybody's belief. This world that we live in is already an illusion.
Yeah.
It is. And
Yeah.
this is my explanation around it. You live, you die, your body goes right back to the dirt that it came from. That's temporary. You know what I mean? And then the illusionary part is the belief that you have to do and obtain all these things. You know what I mean? They just found they found something megalithic. I don't even know if I said that word right. Structures in the bottom of the pyramid, right? I've
Mhm.
been watching this stuff all the time, and I'm all like, "That's crazy!" And it's how large it is, and
Right.
everything like that. To think that we're the only ones to be smart would
Right.
be like, there's obviously a huge reset that happened way back when,
Oh,
like
I
whatever
believe
you
it.
want to call it,
I
because
believe it.
they were creating electricity way back like 500,000 years ago, or 50,000 years ago. I think that's around the time.
Mm.
Don't get on me with the dates, but for them to be creating such structures and then coming up with certain things and aspects that they could work for them, that is so better for the environment, that worked out more efficient than what we have right now. What happened that caused us to be reset and sent back into the Stone Age? Because that's what happened to us. By the time you get back to the let's say the 20s, Nazis happened. You got before that though, you know what I'm saying? Like horse and carriage, whatever you want. You know, the 1800s, that the 1700s, the 1600s. You know what I'm saying? And you're looking at all these different centuries, and you're like, where there was a huge reset that happened that caused people that set people back. You know what I mean? And what is it? You know, and that gets really deep. But understanding that knowledge and is what helps me understand, like, okay, there's some type of reset that happened that caused us to feel like
Yeah.
this is it. Like you only get one life. Like if energy is constant
Right.
and you're conscious, like, yeah, I really
Mhm.
truly believe your conscious is there before your body is ever there. You know,
Yeah.
you're a conscious being before you're ever a physical one. Um, that's gonna last forever. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
yeah. Yeah.
That part lasts forever. So when it comes down to it, there's another level of different things. And if you can't obtain the understanding, or if you want to cling on to this world so bad, like, oh my God, well, you're going to be right back here, because I'm a strong believer in reincarnation. You're going to be right back here having to learn these lessons all over again. So
Yeah.
let's do it right the first time. Let's look at the aspects of our lives that we are very upset about, or that hurt us really deeply in the past, and let's find a way to make peace with it. You know what I mean? Even if people did do something dirty in your previous relationship and you understand the trigger, take your time to get through that, because it's not the easiest thing in the world. I wouldn't jump into another relationship after marriage. I mean, I was ripping around in the streets, but you know, I wasn't gonna be like, I'm about to be in a really serious relationship right after. Like some people just jump right into it, and I don't like, more power to you. You know what I mean? But take your
Amazing.
time, you know, because if you don't take your time, what happens? You either emotionally spill out and manipulate, or you emotionally, or not even emotionally, or you're just like, I'm treating this person like a bag of ish, And it's all because of this last person that I dated. And it's all like, but why?
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to hurt people. You don't have to hurt any more people. You know, they say
Right.
hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And I say, you know what? Some hurt people can learn how to heal people if they heal themselves.
Mm-hmm. So true.
So that's my closing in it all.
Wow. So we found the answer. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So now we
we
know how to be good couples, good healthy couples, everybody.
go get some heels at some shoe store and do some flips.
Do some flips. There you go. There you go. Do those flips. Yeah.
Look, I I wanted to also leave by saying, gosh, we have like so many components
Oh, I
of
know.
this episode,
Yeah.
but like I've always been fascinated, right? Because think about it, when your body isn't feeling well, you rest,
Hmm.
right? When you sleep, because obviously we have to sleep, right?
Hmm.
I mean, unless I don't know who doesn't sleep, but your body stays here, but your energy goes elsewhere
Hmm.
to a different realm, to a different dimension. But this is going to be another
Yeah.
episode. But I'm very fascinated about this. You
Yes.
know, just like what you say, energy. And so people tend to look at the human, like this husk, and not what's in here,
Right. Yep.
here, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I just want to say that there's more to this life, these world, because we're one world, but worlds, right?
Hmm.
That we live in. And so tonight, when you go to bed, you might be in a different, who knows, realm. You might be a warrior. You might be fighting the whatever wars.
Right. You never know. You might be somewhere else astroplaning. I know I do a lot. Like there's I have wild dreams. I'm like, what was that? Like
Right?
I didn't
No.
watch that in a movie. What was that? Like, yeah, so I definitely understand where you're coming from as far as the dream state too.
Yeah. I was in the forest. I don't know. I think I was on a horse or something. I got up. But yeah. So on that note,
Hmm.
we definitely will come back on
Yes.
the next episode. And the next episode is we're going to start with overcompensation and fixing the past.
Yes. Yes.
So just to make sure that we get that note. And for now, we're going to leave you, but be sure to subscribe to King Jacob and Internet 360. I'm going to post this on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, where else? Spotify, TikTok, pretty much everywhere.
Nice.
And let's continue to support this unity for social justice. Let's free Master Yo and all our brothers and sisters that are in need of support.
Yes.
And this has been a broadcast of showing love full circle between NNO 360 and Mr. King Jacob. So,
Yay. Yes.
yay!
Of course. It's always my pleasure too. So I appreciate it. Thank you for always having me on the show.
Thank you, sir. Hold tight.